Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, I welcome Dr. J. Raghavendra Rao and he will speak on the topic regenerative agriculture. I now request the speaker to begin. Thank you.
Yes. Good afternoon and a great thanks to agriinformation.com, Dhanlakshmi Madam and others. Why this particular topic was chosen was in my last few lectures, I had talked about organic farming, natural farming, so many things were very, very interconnected, but it is not leading to the logical issue of regenerative agriculture. In fact, this should have been the very first topic, but nevertheless, I thought it is better late than never. See, because all the new paradigms and the narratives which we are talking today is leading to regenerative agriculture that comes to the carbon sequestration and then, the greenhouse gases and then the removal of the ozone layer, and even it is also related to our Iran war, and all many things are involved in this. So anyway, today's topic is about regenerative agriculture. That's myself, Dr. Jairaghavendra Rao. Okay, I'm a retired principal scientist from the Indian Institute of Horticulture Research. You see my institute on the background when I'm speaking. Okay, that's about myself. Mm, okay, earlier to this, I have totally about 35 years of experience, and I worked in a place called National Academy for Agriculture Research Management. I hold a PhD from IRA New Delhi, okay, with a BSc AG, MSc AG, and an MBA. Okay, so that's all about myself. Now, coming to the topic per se, okay, now people have got some myths. They feel that regenerative agriculture is very costly. That is myth number one. It takes a lot of years to have regenerative agriculture. Well, the fact remains that regenerative agriculture is not a time taking process. Okay, rather, I can say it's a gradual transition, okay, where we are going to reduce just the some of the external inputs, and it is highly data guided in the sense, see, suppose, let us say, I will give an example of the human physiology. Say somebody is, let us say, a diabetic patient. You are insulin dependent. You are dependent on so many tablets. Is it that you will take only tablets? You will also do a diet. You will take, what is called as that GLP-1 method. That means glycogen like peptide molecule. Okay, you will take more antioxidants, you will take more cucumbers, you will take more satisfactory things. You will start eating low glycemic foods, and you will start eating, okay, every 2 hours once when your postprandial sugar, everywhere, somewhere around the line about 150, 160 of your sugar level has to be maintained. You cannot either fast or you cannot either feast. So that is regenerative medicine to me in the sense. Similarly, in regenerative agriculture also, I am not saying just do away with the pesticides, do away with all the natural fertilizers or organic fertilizers, make a combination. See, now if you take I think Dhanlakshmi madam will agree with me, a very typical South Indian meal, which is put on your banana leaf plate will have so many items. It will have salads, okay, it will have, we have the payasams, it has sweet, okay, it has your tongue twisters, it has your tongue teasers, it has your appetizers, you name it, you have it. So all these items in regenerative agriculture, to me, is going to be there. Okay, see, now regenerative agriculture is, we have to enhance biodiversity, we have to restore the soil health, we have to capture carbon. See, now lot of greenhouse gases. What is greenhouse gases? See, lot of hydrocarbons. You burn lot of petrol, diesel. See, why all these things are happening? Because the ozone layer in the atmosphere is getting degraded because of the ultraviolet radiation, which is triggered by the greenhouse emissions. And because of this ultraviolet radiation getting eroded there, okay, the alpha rays and the UV rays of the sunlight is entering directly. And because of this, there is global warming and increase in temperature. Because of the increasing in temperature, okay, you are seeing all that ice melting, and you have seen the changes in the rainfall pattern, the El Nino, and all these effects. See, nowadays, This time it is predicted that the rainfall is going to be advanced and it is also going to be less. This time the mango crop the yields were less. So many of these things are happening because of global warming. Okay, therefore, we require a water retention, we require a minimal tillage, we have a rotational grazing system, and we also have to have an ecosystem resilience. Okay, and we have to produce nutrient dense food. That means we have to have a biofortified food, whether it is vitamins, fats, or amino acids, and so on. So how this regenerative farming is going to take place? We have, especially people in the olden days, or about 50 years back when the Green Revolution came in 1965, simply apply nitrogenous fertilizers or urea. Okay, you kill all the roots of the perennial crops, you don't integrate livestock, you throw away the cow dung. Okay, such an important issue is the cow dung and all the organic matter from the animal. Okay, then we minimize the use of chemical inputs, improve the soil carbon, maintain always a mulch soil cover. Okay, minimize soil disturbance. This is also called as zero tillage by Jethro Tull and others. Okay, then we enhance the biodiversity. Why do we say that you grow legumes after paddy? That is to acquire the organic carbon and also the atmospheric carbon by biological nitrogen fixation. So now all these issues have been told. See, now today, even it may be a city waste. Okay, I stay in a flat of 356 people. See how is your sewage treatment plant is done. Okay, all things are connected. The excess water is removed and the sludge is captured. Somewhere in Yelahanka, now there is a biogas treatment plant is there, and they are buying it at the rate of 12 rupees a kilo of sludge. See, earlier, in China model, they were connecting the human latrine directly into the paddy fields. But nowadays, they treat it and make beautiful fertilizer out of it. So this is regenerative farming for me. So now, why we are all doing this? Because the climate change is in place. We have to mitigate the climate change. Okay, we should talk about the carbon credits. We should talk about the carbon sequestration. Okay, you should have an efficient water management. See, today nobody puts fresh water for your garden. All your, it may be rainwater, it may be sewage water coming after treatment. They are all used to, irrigate your gardens. So, economic reason by lowering reliance on costly external inputs. See, farmer, there are so much of this, wastewater, what you say, or the sludge water available. But unfortunately, there is no mechanism to store it, use it, recycle it. Then, for example, the biodiversity, paddy after paddy, what biodiversity is there? Have some cover crops, put some insects, pollinating insects, birds. So, enhance the soil microorganism, whether it is azotobacter, nitrobacter, azospirillum, okay, mycorrhizal, phosphatic microorganism, and so on. So, now, the regenerative agriculture, you should not disturb the soil too much, because the first 8 feet is a very top soil. After that, it's all hard rock, it's all laterite, which is highly acidic, and so on. Always maintain a soil cover. See, you should not leave the open soil, okay, to the atmosphere, because a lot of carbon dioxide escapes, carbon is depleted. You have to protect the living roots. Always, when the organic content is more, okay, the roots are very lively, okay, there is always regeneration. Then put all the livestock together, whether it is gomutra, dasparani, or cow dung, slurry, sludge, even human sludge, excellent fertilizer. Then by doing all these things, you can limit the use of chemical. There is no taboo. See, don't think that, whatever agriculture you are eating, you are recycling your own feces or the sludge or anything. See, today it is $1 million industry. You go near Yelahanka, you have all that sludge treatment, fertilizer making. I'm telling you, even your apartment sludge is purchased at 12 rupees a kilo, means you can understand how much of nutrients it is having. So therefore, there are 4 types of agriculture. See, today, in and around the cities, we no longer do pastoral agriculture. That's all the very primitive agriculture. Shifting cultivation is not there. Subsistence farming is out. Today it is the jamana of intensive farming, okay, greenhouse farming, okay. We have all these things in and around it. People are developing vegetables and all fruits just on their terrace garden on a 30-40 site on the third floor. One of my colleagues has made a beautiful garden. So now how do you get inputs for all these things? This is the whole approach. See now, regenerate, don't confuse whether organic farming is regenerative farming or regenerative farming is organic farming. I will tell you openly that organic farming is a part of regenerative farming, whereas regenerative farming is a much bigger universe, it is a much bigger ecosystem. It actively restores natural systems, microflora, fauna, birds, earthworms, and so on. It improves the agriculture productivity and also the sustainability. And you use chemical or other thing, but continuous supply of the input and outputs are going to take place. That is the approach in regenerative farming. See now, you see how is sunlight captured? Carbon dioxide and water gives rise to photosynthesis and the glucose molecule is synthesized. That is exactly what is told in the Gayatri Mantra. Bhur Savitur. Savitur means sun. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur. Vitaranam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodya. That means the food is synthesized by the sunlight. How do you tap the sunlight? You should have enough carbon dioxide. How does enough carbon dioxide come? By organic carbon. Even fossil fuel emissions. See, if you burn more petrol, also more carbon dioxide is there. But to absorb the carbon dioxide, you require plants. You require canopy. You require agriculture. So you cannot leave it vacant. And then, all these greenhouse gases, especially carbon dioxide, okay, it is going to deplete your ozone layer. Okay, and then in the stratosphere, and because of the depletion of the ozone layer, the ultraviolet rays of the sun is going to come and the global warming is going to be there. Therefore, photosynthesis, carbon sequestration is a very fundamental issue for global warming and also for regenerative agriculture. I told you minimize soil disturbance. Can you minimize the use of chemical inputs, maximize biodiversity, always keep the soil covered, adapt to local environment. Whatever inputs you are getting, please use it. In and around cities, a lot of vegetables, they should use all your wastewater coming out from the flats, from the industries, the effluents. I don't see anything wrong in this. There is no taboo question here. Please understand, being an agriculture scientist, you should use the sludge water after treatment. If you use the sludge water or the waste slurry or sludge without treatment, it is going to be very toxic and then, it can also cause health hazards. Be careful. So conventional agriculture, okay, more of chemical dependency. Regenerative agriculture, more of organic dependency, flora, fauna, okay, and then it is an end-to-end solution. It is something like your kitchen. Okay, if some vegetable waste is left out, my wife prepares a chutney out of it. Okay, if lot of curd is left out, make buttermilk, put some masala in it and have a regenerative agriculture. Okay, if the rice is left over in the night, make curd rice in the morning. That is all regenerative agriculture. So now a little bit about carbon sequestration. Suppose you are going to open an industry, you are going to release lot of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases. So now there is a issue called as carbon credit. See, that means for every 1 ton of the carbon dioxide gas you release, you have to pay amount of 1,200 to 2,800 rupees per ton of the gas. Therefore, what the government, whether state government or central government says is, you do afforestation, you do CSR, or you pay this much money as a carbon credit. Did you understand? See, suppose I am opening a factory, I am going to release 1 ton of carbon dioxide. I have to pay 2,800 to the government. So they will start planting and make fertilizer. Or the amount of 2,800 rupees worth plants and trees and flora and fauna you please develop. That is called as carbon credit rate. You should, very, very important concept. For the next 20 minutes, we are going to talk about this. So now, whether you burn fossil fuel, you burn coal, or you have cocoa peat, or you are having biochar to enrich the carbon, ultimately the soil carbon should be more than 2%. Please understand. Minimum is 0.2. So you should have, even, how did all you get your fossil fuels, all your crude oil? Because lot of marine deposits, okay, assimilation of phytoplankton in the soil and in the ocean bed. That's why Venezuela is having lot of crude oil. Canada is number one. UAE, and the entire Iran war is all because of the fossil fuels. So fossil fuels, when they use it as diesel, petrol, LPG and all that, after combustion, it releases carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, okay, should be absorbed immediately by the flora and fauna. Okay, that means there should be enough fauna. That means there should be enough trees, forest cover, plants in and around to absorb that carbon dioxide, convert it into photosynthetic glucose. If this is not happening, that means there is some issue with your carbon credit. So therefore, don't be under the impression burning fossil fuel, okay, is very bad. But maybe burning diesel is more bad. Petrol is better. Or, if you use an LPG connection, it is much more economic and much more environmental friendly. Okay. Even if electricity you use with a hot plate, how does electricity come? It requires a hydropower. Okay, it requires hydroelectric power or nuclear power, or you have to run a turbine and produce the energy. See, therefore, energy in one form is converted to another form. So ultimately, it is all coming to this carbon sequestration and carbon credit. So I told you about the carbon cycle. I need not tell you again and again. See, sometimes, even in the plants also, whatever is there, we are going to treat the atmosphere with more carbon dioxide. If more carbon dioxide is there, the entire photosynthesis takes place before 11 o'clock in the morning. Because in the night, there is no photosynthesis, so don't sit near a plant. My wife is also a biology teacher. She used to tell her students, you idiots, don't sit near the plant in the night because it releases carbon dioxide. Only in the morning it absorbs carbon dioxide. It does photosynthesis and fresh air is released. Therefore, if somebody is thinking of sitting under a tree, we call it as the tapovana. Why? The olden Sanatana Dharma people used to sit under a tree and meditate because of fresh oxygen. Nobody will meditate in the night. Please understand. There is no Sanatana Dharma in that. So therefore, we'll quickly go ahead. So carbon sequestration means whether you open a factory, you burn fossil fuel, I am not worried. If you are releasing 1 ton of carbon dioxide gas, kindly pay 2,800 rupees. So what is that you pay? Only the diesel charge, 90 rupees diesel, 100 rupees petrol. LPG in rate is also minimal. So therefore, for releasing 1 ton of carbon dioxide, oh my God, so it is a carbon credit is very cheap. Only 2,800 you have to pay, not much. Or you pay that, or you do afforestation, social forestry, reforestation, have green cover. Whether you will have, or government will have, or NGO will have, or Azim Premji Foundation will have. These are all examples. So that is how the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, even if it is there, okay, carbon dioxide should be released by dead organic material fermentation, or by biochar, or by oxidation of the rocks down there, or by fossil fuels in the bedrock of the sea. Also, you have crude oil. Remove the crude oil, supply it, burn it. Carbon dioxide is again released into the atmosphere. And before it depletes your ozone layer in the stratosphere, you capture it through the plants and all the tree cover, and then have a very good carbon sequestration or carbon credit. So therefore, regenerative agriculture is organic agriculture is a part of regenerative agriculture. You should have a resilient planet. See, that means See, just like the human digestive system, we have ingestion, excretion, okay, then you have got so many. See, whatever you have to eat has to be digested. You should release the ATP molecules. The glucose has to be converted into energy, and the undigested material has to be excreted. The same excreted material can be recycled, make a climate friendly, put it in the soil, okay, improve the microbial things, okay, and that is how you build a healthy community and a regenerative agriculture. Today, even your kitchen waste, we don't want you to throw it here. Kitchen waste, animal waste, slaughterhouse waste, okay, then STP, sewage treatment plant, sludge and slurry, all are regenerated, recycled. Please understand. BBMP sells the wet waste, 900 rupees 1 ton. Oh my God. And today, there is a fertilizer making unit. And, my wife is now the president of this Concord Spring Meadows Association. So she is busily involved with her team to have all these STP treatments and so many things. So therefore, gentlemen, whatever is generated as a waste, whether you call it BBMP waste, you bifurcate into dry waste, wet waste, okay, nuclear waste, plastic waste, computer waste, and then only the biodegradable waste can be converted into fertilizer, and then that is how it enhances organic agriculture also. And now already the urea and DAP is in short supply, so you can also reduce the dependence on many of these inorganic fertilizer, because diammonium phosphate, DAP, has to be imported from Chile and Brazil. These are all very highly very costly import substitution. Therefore, regenerative agriculture is whatever the waste you generate in your farm, in your house, in your sewage plant, in your toilets, and etc., and farm waste, animal waste, slaughterhouse waste, everything has to be recycled. That is called regenerative agriculture. So, in the organic, where are your earthworms? Come on, show me. You take a handful of soil, whether you get earthworm, no earthworm. Okay, and if the soil is more black, more wet, more organic content, it is more called humus. So microbial biomass must be there. And see here, see mostly the inorganic fruits, vegetables, they are highly cancerous. Okay, look at, organic is better for animals also. Okay, and it should be a third party certified. Who will certify it's organic? APIDA is going to certify. Okay, that is one agency. There are so many. Then Center for Sustainable Agriculture, where my friend Dr. Ramanjaneyulu is the director. He sits in Hyderabad. These are all some of the certification agencies for organic and regenerative agriculture. And it should be a non-GMO. See, that means the genetically modified organism like BT cotton. See, BT cotton, Bacillus thuringiensis, okay, it is affecting the bollworm of cotton, because in the silk industry, our Helicoverpa armigera, okay, that is called our silkworm insect. So it will eat away our silkworm. It's a parasite. So therefore, we should be very careful with the GMO crops. So organic has been tried. There are so many institutes, even ICR institutes. We have a separate Organic Farming Institute. We have one at Shumaga. So many are there. They have already tried it and certified that it is true. So be organic is one part of the regenerative agriculture. Okay, soil health has to be improved. Okay, that's a key resource. Okay, whether you do annual cropping or perennial cropping, you should have enough tree crops, tree intercropping, multi-strata agroforestry, regenerative organic agriculture, convert all your cow dung, sludge, slurry into very beautiful, fermented fertilizer. See, I wanted to tell this. I told this even in my flats to our residents also. Normally, the sewage treatment has got two processes. What we are using is called as the aerobic fermentation. Aerobic fermentation does not create fertilizers because it creates a lot of heat, and the toxicity of that particular sludge remains as it is. Although it is purchased at 12 rupees a kilo, it is unfit to be a fertilizer. So what we do in the poultry waste and other thing is, we subject the entire sludge to anaerobic fermentation. Anaerobic fermentation is a bit costlier, so therefore, a resident flat cannot use it. So we simply sell it off at 12 rupees a kilo, and then later on at Yelahankar, some other unit, they subject it to anaerobic fermentation, and that is going to be converted into a very fertile fertilizer. If you put cow dung directly on the plants, if you put the human feces directly on the plant, and if you put the fish industry waste directly on the plant, the root burning will be there. Please understand, this is basic agriculture. So then in the grassland cover also must be there. Okay, then grazing management. Now my friend Dr. Som, he was a principal scientist in Jhansi, Indian Grass and Fodder Research Institute at Jhansi. They have two concepts, the FRG, free range grazing and controlled grazing. You should not allow a grassland to simply be eaten away. Okay, today you eat the land A, tomorrow you should eat land B, like that, so that continuous rejuvenation of the grassland and the canopy cover and the grassland cover must exist. And obviously you should have 23% of the forest. We have told this time and again in many of my lectures. So we have already told you all this regenerative farming principle. I don't want to go into the detail. We will have more discussion. So that is regenerative agriculture. Lot of whether you dominate it with fungal, bacterial, azotobacter, nitrobacter, then carbon sequestration, biochar, okay, all these things. Ultimately, our one issue is the soils must store more carbon indefinitely. That means the organic carbon must be high. Not put, and today in Amazon you find out, there are small pencil type of carbon sticks. What they do is they put a pot and put that carbon stick and irrigate. That supplies enough carbon for one plant. See, like this is also regenerative agriculture, but it should be told by a scientist like me. So ultimate is the soils must store more carbon. Okay, then that is regenerative. Okay, we have already told you regenerative agriculture. Earth care, people care, fair share. See, that means if America is consuming more diesel and petrol and releasing more carbon dioxide, who should have more carbon credit? The green countries like India, or the countries like Greenland, or the countries which has more forest should produce. See, suppose if UAE, Iran, okay, all these are produce, they are making money by selling all the crude oil. That means their carbon credit is negative. Those fellows should pay up more money because of this diesel and petrol. Okay, the carbon dioxide emission is high. So therefore, there should be certain countries like African countries which will have more green cover, and then they should receive the carbon credit money. That is regenerative agriculture. Fair share, that's where it's coming here. Okay. So many such systems are there: agroforestry, social forestry, okay, urban forestry, then we have, rooftop gardening, then we have rainwater harvesting techniques. All these things are coming somewhere down the line, and it is getting integrated into regenerative agriculture. So the harmful chemical intensive agriculture is gone. Regenerative agriculture, which harbors pollinators, bees, insects, beneficial insects, okay, and then the predators and parasites and the natural enemies, they have to be encouraged. So that is regenerative agriculture. It improves the water cycle, the ecosystem services are enhanced, okay, biosequestration, resilience to climate change. So even if any amount of global warming is there, no problem. Even if the rainfall pattern has changed. See, recently I was in a Krishi Vigyan Kendra, Chandurayanahalli. See, normally we have a bimodal rainfall. We get rains in the first week of June and again in the first week of October. But nowadays what has happened, because of this global warming, okay, the rainfall has advanced by about 1 to 2 weeks. So this time, by May end, you can expect the first rainfall. Okay, that is called the southeast rainfall. Okay, southwest rainfall is called our Kharif rain. Northeast rainfall is called as the Rabi rain. Please understand, these are the two very important rainfall patterns. But nowadays, about 1 week, it has been advanced. Let it be advanced, no problem. See, we have a project called NICRA in Crida. Okay, National Initiative for Climate Resilient Agriculture. That means when the temperature changes, when the rainfall pattern changes, you should change your crops. You should change your ecosystem. You should improve the organic content of the soil. You should have better predators and parasites. Okay, we should improve the resilience. That is how the health and vitality of the soil is going to be enhanced. That is regenerative agriculture. Now the soil should regenerate. You should not deplete the topsoil by putting a crop cover, by mulching it. Nowadays, even in the agriculture land, they put this green mulch. Have you seen the green and black cover is there? They don't want sunlight to, remove all the moisture or remove the nutrients. So therefore, keeping the soil moist, green, high organic carbon it will reduce the risk of soil erosion and it will improve the soil resilience and we have a better carbon sequestration. Please understand. That is soil regeneration. So there are so many farms not just for producing crop. Soil regeneration farming. You know how they do the soil regeneration farming is they build lot of organic carbon and then they'll see that it will start trickling down in the soil and more diverse plant communities. We also call it as the multi-story soil regeneration farming, especially when gill erosion, gully erosion, all are going to take place. We have to stop the erosion. Very, very important in regeneration farming, regenerative agriculture. See here, soil regeneration farming. We add compost. Okay, you protect the soil. You include legumes, which is doing BNF, biological nitrogen fixation, Azotobacter, Azospirillum. Put more of phosphatic bacteria. Okay, arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. Okay, all these things are going to enhance the regeneration farming. Regenerating soil, composting. We have already told you how the compost is made and biochar is made. I did not tell you. More and more of compost, you should eliminate the chemical fertilizer. Compost increases the count of microbial count is going to increase in the soil. Even if it is whatever grows, allow it to grow and recycle. It may be even mushroom. Don't worry about it. It should ultimately suppress the pathogens. Put some cover crops, legumes, cover crops, sun hemp, dhencha. These are all called as the cover crops. Okay. Okay, crop rotation. Okay, put a C4 plant, C3 plant and then put a legume. Always a legume is rotated. Okay, don't put paddy after paddy. Paddy, legume, dhencha, sun hemp and put all these legumes. Improve the soil fertility. Okay, I've already told you. See, why do plants grow tall? Because of more of apical dominance and more of nitrogen in the soil. So you should give a balanced fertilizer. Recently, in ICR, my friends at IRI, they conducted how to make balanced fertilizer use. Mostly farmers apply more of urea, that means nitrogen. They are putting less of phosphorus and potassium. Potassic fertilizers are very costly. So therefore, if a plant is growing very tall means it is not only because of apical dominance, that means you have applied more of nitrogen. Your plant should grow horizontally, not only vertically. Please understand. Plant should get bushy. You can use pruning and improve the nipping and all that and break the apical dominance and then also improve the canopy architecture. We call it as pruning. You can see a cicature here. This is very much used in horticulture where we don't want plants to grow tall, whether it is pomegranate, avocado, or it is our sitafal, okay, anona fruit. Okay, everything will have a bushy architecture and it will not have an apical architecture. Please understand. So stem should grow thick. Stem should not be thin. More the girth of the stem, that means it is having better phloem and xylem. Okay, the phloem is on the outer part of the bark, which will transport all the photosynthates and the glucose synthesized in the leaf to the fruits, berries and the root system, and whereas the xylem cells which are inside the trunk or the stem, okay, they transport all the nutrient elements all the NPK, zinc, boron, phosphorus, etc., the 20 elements from the root to the shoots. So you should understand this cambium and all this cracks should not be there, and that is how you should allow a canopy architecture to have a better regenerative agriculture. I told you how the roots and shoots grow. I told you about xylem, phloem, canopy architecture. I've already told you about the pruning, okay, budding and all these methodologies. You have to increase water absorption on one part, okay, and you should also improve the phloem. Don't remove the bark of the tree. That is the most important part. If you remove the bark, all your mango fruits will become very small. It won't get all the photosynthesis. And apply better potassium, especially mango if it has to be more sweet. Okay, so this is how regenerative, healthier plants, more yield. Okay, there are a lot of organic components like Bioactiva, which is a microbial consortium. Okay, it can be used in paddy, tea, ornamental, potting mixtures. Even IAHR is having this ARCA microbial consortia. We have a orange mix, we have vegetable special, orange special, mango special, banana special. We have made all these bioactive compounds. Okay, this is how it, even municipal waste can be used. I've already told you how the sludge and slurry, okay, how they use the treated water for agriculture. Okay, then we have vermicompost coming in 2-liter packets, okay, with lot of earthworm, good species. Okay, all that you require is only some biomass and cow dung, sludge, slurry, it comes up very well. Vermicompost is applied by volume. It improves the soil fertility, it improves the soil structure, and that is regenerative agriculture for me. Vermicompost is suitable for all plants. No issues. How to produce vermicompost, I will probably discuss in the next session. I hope Dhanlakshmi will give me one more session. Okay, and then, the earthworm is called the farmer's friend because it eats all these hard cellulotic materials and convert them into biodegradable fertilizer. Why do we say that cow is called the Kamadhenu? And we worship the cow. It is not that cow is a god or whatever, because cow and some of the animals can digest cellulose with mesum, abomesum, and the 4 layers in the cow. Whether human beings can digest cellulose? Never. Therefore, you are only glucose dependent. Your metabolism is called as the blood-based glucose metabolism. You have to store all the glucose in the form of glycogen in the liver, and then the liver, whenever you are hungry, it releases the glycogen, converts into glucose, releases in the bloodstream. When your glucose level increases in the blood, okay, insulin is produced from the pancreas, and then the glucose molecule, every adenosine triphosphate, ATP molecule is converted to ADP, and the energy is released, and it is that energy which I am talking now. Therefore, our cow is called as the Mahasanatana Pashu. Okay, fantastic. That's why our Shiva is called Pashupati Natha. See his Vahana. It is the bull. So therefore, bulls, all our cows and any animal which can digest cellulose, they are the best friends. And that is how even earthworm is also a farmer's friend. I don't know earthworm how to do puja for this. We will do it in the next class. So I told you about biochar is another one. This is called pyrolysis. See what they do here is, they take all the stalks and all the wood, see all the unwanted wood material which cannot become timber. They burn it in this chamber. This is called pyrolysis. I'm a consultant for one of the biochar farms in Tamil Nadu. He is based at Coimbatore. Okay. After doing pyrolysis, okay, Karadahaya, that means the black, all that soot type is converted into a black liquid, and then it remains in the soil for thousands of years. Excessive use of curd may result in pH imbalance, making the soil more alkali. Did you understand what I am saying is? Normally, soils must be 7 pH. That means it should be neutral pH. If you add too much of this biochar and all that, soil becomes alkaline. Okay? And if more of laterite soil is there, no organic content in the soil becomes acidic, like laterite soil. So therefore, you have to increase the carbon dioxide content in the soil. We use what is called as flash pyrolysis by burning all the waste stubbles and stalks. So it is worth it. So this is regenerative agriculture for me. So how to infuse the they have used rice husk, they have used all the waste material which cannot be eaten by animals. Don't put good fodder and convert into biochar. Only those materials which cannot be eaten by animals or earthworm, that you have to convert into biochar. Okay. Then okay, infuse better, ready to use soil amendment. Today it is also sold by some companies. Biochar is also grown. Okay, rapid tips, adding compost, regenerative agriculture, I've already told you. Then root mass, C3, C4 plants. I told you that C4 plants are more worth it. Okay, especially maize is a C4 plant. Okay, and paddy is a C3 plant. Wheat is a C3 plant. So more C4 plants. That means the carbon synthesis, the carbon assimilation, the carbon digestion is better. That is more, okay, climate resilient and friendly for regenerative agriculture. Okay, so all these things I told you about soil. I need not, you should improve infiltration. Okay, you should improve the soil content, organic content, biochar, carbon. Okay, and improve the soil structure, more organic. Okay, air also, you can burn a lot of fossil fuel, but if you don't have plants and trees to absorb it, that's why in all the highways you should plant it with very, very efficient trees, not keep vacant. Okay, give a green cover wherever you are having national highway, nice road, ring road. Okay, the NHAI, our Nitin Gadkari Saab, National Highway Authority of India Limited. Today, building road is also a very, very important regenerative agriculture concept, not just putting tar and road. Okay, carbon CN ratio must be very, very good. Okay, 1% soil organic carbon. Okay, then we should have living organism, dead fresh residues, humus, and after the humus is there, that will become all your crude oil in the soil, and that is how you are getting your petrol. So they are all related to each other. Nutrient recycling, deciduous wood, newspaper, whatever you get out of your homes, kitchens, latrines, okay, convert everything into biodegradable compounds and put it in the soil and use it for regenerative agriculture. I can go on and on. I think it is half an hour more. Dhanlakshmi madam, shall I somewhere conclude in under 2-3 minutes? Dhanlakshmi madam?
Yes, sir. You have concluded, sir?
Yeah, no. If my time is up, I will conclude in under 2-3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Then we
Yes,
can
sir.
take more
Please,
discussion. There's no
another two
point
to three
explaining.
minutes you can finish, then I will take up questions.
Okay, under 5 minutes I'll conclude. Quickly
Okay,
please.
okay. Yeah. Okay.
So then, I've already told about soil biology, then exporting carbon and nutrients. Okay, especially, if somebody's, giving you LPG or crude oil, be happy. Don't be sad. Don't be under the wrong impression that burning LPG is bad, using diesel is bad. Okay, you can take all this battery operated. Okay, you can use all methods, but ultimate regenerative agriculture calls for recycling of this organic carbon. Please understand, as long as you don't do this and you increase the carbon dioxide content in the atmosphere, and it is going to degrade all our ozone layer in the stratosphere, and then it is going to cause global warming. That is our concern. And because of global warming, all the ice melting, irregularity of rainfall, all are there. Okay, all the waste material exporting carbon and nutrients from the farm, all waste material is picked up and it is used to do pyrolysis, biochar, and convert it into organic farming products. Okay, that is how we do all these things. Soil, I've already told you. Bacteria, important. Fungi, protozoa, nematodes, actinomycetes. Okay, these actinomycetes, you can also produce antibiotics, convert dinitrogen gas to ammonia, we can use into urea production. So all those things are there. So many cases are there. Look at this green one. The native lands will have a huge carbon sink. That means more the crop cover, more the carbon sink, better the regenerative agriculture. Please understand. Okay, energy, okay. Sunflower and all the broadleaf covers, this is the group. You should not leave your soil exposed to sunlight. Please understand, that is how you have to manage your green manure, sun hemp, daincha, sunflower, cover crop or whatever it is. Have some cover. Okay, so many are there. Soil health, I have already told you. Yeah, I think I should stop somewhere around this. I will stop sharing and then we open it for discussion. Yes, ma'am. I stopped sharing.
Thank you very much, sir, for an informative presentation. I will take up the questions now. The first question is regenerative agriculture a science-backed approach or still evolving through field experiences?
Yeah, it's good. Madam, you be a bit louder. I could not hear. Anyway, I got the question. See, now regenerative agriculture is available in the Sanatana, it is available in science. It is a highly scientific oriented agriculture. See, what happened is after the Green Revolution, hybridization programs, when today our Indian production is about 354.6 million metric tons and the horticulture production is much more. So all this, most of this high production is coming not only by hybridization, but it is also coming by inorganic fertilizers. Agreed. But somewhere down the line, we lost touch of recycling our nutrients. See now, why did this kitchen gardening come in the houses, in the villages? All the other waste material, they were wasted. Only the old party in the house has to recycle all that cooked waste, okay, then cow waste. Even our human latrine, of course, there are people who will, they will, it's petri, latrine pit, people, they excavate it. They are now converting into sludge, slurry, good fertilizer and all that. But the concept of linking all the human waste or the city waste or the BBMP waste into the regenerative agriculture has now taken a legal backing from the governments, whether state government or the central government, and it is given a scientific touch so that people are aware. Even today, Dhanlakshmi madam, we have a taboo that if I tell you that we use our human excreta to fertilize some of the plants, will you buy those vegetables? There will be a taboo. See, but I am telling you, the plant is such a beautiful organism in this nature. It can biodegrade, it can convert. Bioconversion. See, if a cow is going to convert an ordinary grass into milk, what else bioconversion you require? You take a lovely mother. Why we say mother is God? She will take all the hardships. Okay, she converts all whatever she eats into milk, nurtures the child. Is it not bioconversion? Therefore, any animal which gives milk, whether it is Gomata or it is our Manava Mata or it is the Kanaka Mata, Mata is having a very special status in our Sanatana. That means a mother who nurtures a child, keeping not just 9 months in the womb, but look at how she plans the nutrition. She won't give you biscuits. Your mother or my mother have planned all our nutrition. Even today, most of the mothers in most of the modern homes also are planning their meal in a very, very regenerative agriculture way, a diet planning, a balanced meal is going to be given. Yes, madam. It is highly scientific.
For a small farmer with 1 to 2 acres, what are the first 3 steps to begin regenerative practices?
Yeah, see now, regenerative agriculture, see here, that is where we say Satyavanta Sanghaviralu Tirtha Vyataki. Everything goes by a community. See, now I am staying in a flat of 356 flats. Earlier, what I used to do, I used to release all my latrine into the BWSSB chamber. So now 356 flats are going to release their sewage in one pit that is called the sewage treatment plant. They do aerobic fermentation. They release the treated water. A part of the treated water is recycled, and then the sludge is purchased at 12 rupees 1 kilo. It is converted to beautiful fertilizer further through anaerobic fermentation. So therefore, a small farmer may not be able to do regenerative agriculture alone. he will take a group of his neighboring farmers, at least some 10-20 farmers if they come. Obviously, I think you can have a very model village like Swaminathan's foundation, MRSSF. They have come out with this concept in and around Chennai. They have made FPOs. They have organized the community, Balaji and group. They have used ICTs. So that is how today's, that village knowledge center is going to talk about regenerative agriculture, and it is a community approach rather than an individual approach. Thank you.
Okay. How long does it take typically to see soil health improvement after shifting to regenerative methods?
Yeah. See, I showed you this in my very first slide. You give me hardly 1 year and 20 farmers who will listen to me. Okay, they need not even pay me also, because I will make my own money. I will come to their farm, 20 fellows, collect all the residues, waste. I will, do the soil testing. I will analyze their bacteria, Nitrobacter, Azospirillum, XYZ, mycorrhiza. Within 1 year, I can establish this regenerative agriculture community farm, you can call it. You can give my name, Jai Raghavendra Rao Community Regenerative Agriculture Farm. Or we will do it in the name of agriinformation.com. Regenerative
Okay.
Agri Farms. 20
Okay.
farmers, 20 acres are more than enough.
Okay. Sir, can regenerative agriculture be applied to crops like paddy, groundnut, or vegetables in South India?
Yeah. See, now what we say is, somebody, suppose, Coimbatore farmers are very good farmers in my thing. See, Coimbatore farmers have 300% cropping intensity. They have Kharif, Rabi, summer. Most of them, they grow diverse vegetables, unlike this Aduttarai and all this paddy belt. It is only all 3 seasons paddy. Paddy after paddy, paddy after. It doesn't matter. Even if they grow a single crop, paddy after paddy, okay, they can still have regenerative agriculture, enrich the soil, microflora, fauna, okay, improve the organic content. Excellent Kaveri water is coming. No issues. Our Coimbatore farmer is the best, in my opinion.
Okay. Is regenerative agriculture economically viable in the short term for farmers?
Yeah. See, I showed you. See, I did not go into the detail because this is it is for an audience of, diverse nature. Very, very remunerative. It can reduce your inorganic fertilizer cost. It can improve your labor productivity, and it can even reduce your labor. See, because every now and then you need not do weeding. Okay, all that weeds can be converted into biomass. So if you use regenerative agriculture, enough predators, parasites, natural enemies, pollinating bees, everything will be there. In fact, it is going to be beneficial for you, and the cost of cultivation is going to reduce.
Okay. I'll move to the next question, sir. Sir, how does regenerative agriculture contribute to climate change mitigations?
Oh, this is the most beautiful question I was expecting, and you asked it. See, now the whole regenerative agriculture has come because of climate change. I told you what is climate change. More burning of fossil fuels, that is more using diesel, petrol, blah, blah, blah. And because of more carbon dioxide emission, what is happening? In the stratosphere, our ozone layer is getting depleted. Because ozone layer is getting depleted, all the ultraviolet rays of the sun are entering the earth atmosphere. Because of this, global warming is there. Because of this, all our natural glaciers and all are getting melted, and you have more water in the oceans. Because of more water in the ocean, especially our Bay of Bengal, we have the El Nino and that incessant rains and unperiodic rains. I told you now that the rainfall pattern has been advanced by 1 week. Therefore, if you use regenerative agriculture, trap most of the carbon dioxide and the carbon emissions, I told you, which is called as carbon sequestration or carbon credit. That means you have to pay 2,800 rupees for releasing 1 ton of carbon dioxide gas. So therefore, by having a better regenerative agriculture, you can avoid the ozone layer depletion and thereby avoid global warming and thereby also avoid the the change in the rainfall pattern. Of course, the entire rainfall pattern may change, let us say, 1,000 years from now, but still the effect of global warming, the effect of El Nino is already seen. You are seeing that this time the summer was much hotter. Don't you feel so? This is all climate change. So when the summer is hot, what will you do? You will use more of electricity. To use more of electricity, you have to consume power. So therefore, regenerative agriculture can reduce some of your global warming costs, which is nothing but carbon sequestration or carbon credits. Therefore, city fellows have to pay more money because the
Okay.
village fellow is not burning that much carbon. A fellow like you and me in the city, we use LPG, we use diesel, we use electricity. We are producing more carbon dioxide, pay more maintenance. Anyway, more salary is given. So that is how this carbon credit concept must become a part of this regenerative agriculture is a part of balancing the carbon credit. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, how important is livestock integration, like cows in regenerative
Oh,
farming
yo,
system?
Dhanlakshmi madam, in fact, you should have been my BSCG classmate. I would have been very happy. See, no, Dhanlakshmi, are you a BSCG graduate? No. Okay.
No,
Okay.
sir.
See, Dhanlakshmi ma'am, very important. See, now most of the livestock, see, it is very costly to maintain a livestock, the dairy herdmen. And okay, even if somebody is eating non-vegetarian, there are a lot of animal waste which is generated in the poultry house, in the fishery sector, in the slaughterhouses. Why don't you bring all of them and convert it into good fertilizer? Ask them to contact me. We can keep their slaughterhouses clean and integration of livestock into the farm. See, today a farmer, if he is having 5 to 6 acres, will he not have at least 3, 4 cows and one bull or a buffalo or whatever? He will have. But the idea is he has to recycle all that cow dung and all the. See, even your human latrine, there is a soak pit in a village, let us say. See, how many of you can use this sludge? Oh my God, it is a taboo to use our soak pits, latrine into the fields. There is a method to do anaerobic fermentation, but you can learn it. It is not out of place. I don't find any taboo. In China, most of the hybrid rice, they are converting all the human latrine sewage into beautiful fertilizer. So this taboo has to go. Regenerative agriculture along with integration of livestock should become the order of the day. Thank you.
Okay. Sir, what are the biggest challenges farmers face when transitioning?
No, see, now I'm telling you, I told you regenerative agriculture requires 3, 4 extension concepts. One is minimum 20 farmers have to come together. You should have cooperation, or you should be residing in a flat like me with 356 flat. You should have a sewage treatment plant. You should have a compost pit in the village. Okay, then you should have all that rainwater harvesting structures are there in the village also. Nowadays it has come in the flats also. So all this recycling of the waste material, water, rainwater, soak pits, this takes an integrated effort and not using much of borewell water. See, these are all some small signs where you can keep your environment very, very healthy. So therefore, very rightly they have elected my wife as the president this time. So she is basically a biology lady who has become the president. See, if you put some other non-science fellows, they will not understand the nitty-gritty of the sewage treatment plant, regenerative agriculture, rainwater harvesting, how the borewell gets recharged. They are called the soak pits. See, many issues have to be integrated in regenerative agriculture, and a single farmer, smoking a bidi in one corner cannot do it. It requires an extension effort. It requires about 20 farmers. That is where the extension scientist or a social scientist must integrate, and people like agriinformation.com have to give awareness to the public that how an FPOs can also be doing this, how we can train them. I think through agriinformation.com we can do all these things. It is a community approach. It is a group approach and definitely not a singularistic approach. Thank you.
Okay. What kind of government support or policies are needed to promote regenerative agriculture?
See, now, again, I'm sorry because every day my wife talks something about the flat and I'm forced to use the example. See, today, I think you paid the property tax this time. Now they have made May 31st as the last date to get the rebate. If you don't treat your sewage properly, if you release your sewage just like that, if you don't do rainwater harvesting, the BBMP will remove your OC. They won't give you occupational certificate. This is for cities. Similarly, in the village also, if somebody is not recycling rainwater, if he is not recycling his compost pit, okay, if he is not doing composting or silage making, that fellow has to be, yeah, and even the house waste also is going to be recycled. Yeah, my wife is helping me here. What is it? Yeah, I got it. What she's saying is only the biodegradable waste should be used and not all this sanitary napkins and the non-biodegradable waste will not be used. I told you BBMP is selling it at 900 rupees a ton. So anyway, madam, see whether it is village, city, metropolis, or it is a software company, hospital waste, industrial waste, everywhere, whether it is biochar or XYZ. See, one of my cousin brother's son, okay, and the one scientist, she is the best scientist for the 3 years. Her name is Sandhya Shenoy. She is converting all the waste into useful fertilizer. She was given the best scientist. She works somewhere in abroad. So therefore, whatever waste comes from hotel industry, agriculture, flats, agriculture land, anywhere, there is a method to convert the waste into wealth. Okay, ICR published a book called Waste into Wealth. Animal waste, human waste, any waste you give me, there is a method to convert it into biochar or pyrolytic process or whatever you call it. You have to treat it, reuse it, improve the carbon levels, improve the organic carbon, put more flora, fauna, and capture more of carbon dioxide. And that sort of regenerative agriculture is a total science. And maybe in my next session in agriinformation.com, I'll speak about some of these waste products which can be used in, yeah. So therefore, what my wife is saying is, the STP is not be given to BBMP, but there are vendors who will buy it, buy the sludge. So anyway, madam, to conclude very quickly, I am telling you, and I thank my wife for prompting me then and there. Okay, see, whatever type of waste generated by any industry, there is a method to convert it into a beautiful fertilizer, and that should be used, which will reduce your cost. So that is regenerative agriculture. Maybe in my next session, you can take the topic, how to convert waste to agriculture wealth. Okay, that will be my next topic, which will be in the series of this regenerative agriculture and all that. How our agriculture inputs can be developed by all the waste. I hope your next topic is also announced now only like James Bond movies. So they will announce the next movie is this one.
Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
so no, why I'm telling you these topics are important is,
Yeah, we will
there
take
is
a
no
note of
point
it,
in
sir.
going with the disconnected topics.
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
all
yeah. That's
topics
true,
are
sir.
getting connected: organic agriculture, natural farming, regenerative agriculture, and so on. Thank you, madam.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much, sir. We have now completed the round of questions. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we would like to thank Dr. Jaya Raghavendra Rao for the talk and for answering the questions. This meeting will now be closed.
Yeah, thank you. My next topic, please wait. It is about converting waste to agriculture wealth. Thank you. I stop the
Definitely, sir.
meeting
Thank
here.
you very much, sir.